Hello there. Uh, Eric Hoernke here. Welcome to my channel where I enjoy discussing movies. Zero production value, because that's pretty much what I got. Today we'll be discussing Midway, 2019 film directed by Roland Emmerich. So Roland Emmerich as the director, this film was released pretty strategically this year in time for Veterans Day, and I think it capitalized on that slot a little bit. The military pride aspect, and probably not a lot of other films like that out there at this time. Although it is not a time for a sort of an actiony sort of war movie to be released. But in any case, and especially for Roland Emmerich, it seems like an odd choice for Roland Emmerich, who probably his most famous movie and most successful by far was Independence Day back in 1996. That's where he had the big budget, he had the stars. He made probably one of the, I don't know if I'd say best action movies of all time, but I mean definitely one that cemented itself in our consciousness, and certainly has a good deal of that American nationalist pride element to it as well. In any case, so we get to now, and he's decides to tackle the Battle of Midway. First off, let's say this movie feels really long, even though 2 hours and 18 minutes is a bit, they say 2 hours is about that perfect, and it feels longer than 2 hours and 18 minutes, and part of that is the nature of his narrative. It's very sprawling, very somewhat disjointed, and very chaotic, not due to a lack of, like, he knew where he was going from point A to point B, but just a lack of you just bounce around to so many characters and so many scenes so many scenes as far as throughout the war. Like, for example, so this movie is somewhat reminiscent of Michael Bay's Pearl Harbor, although that was much more glossy, with that Michael Bay polish, with a bit of melodrama tossed in. But that only spanned from Pearl Harbor to the Doolittle raid, which was pretty close after Pearl Harbor, when we sent planes attacking Tokyo. This covers that in the first 20 minutes, and then continues to spin out over the course of the next 2.5 hours, bouncing all over from high level decision makers and generals to low level pilots and sailors, to even the Japanese and the enemy combatants, and how they were reacting to what we were doing and what they thought was going on. So it was a lot to take in, a lot of information, which is very interesting from a historical context, but I don't know if it makes the best unified, cohesive narrative, right? So because there are so many characters, it's a rather large ensemble piece. There was a lot of good actors in it. I mean, you get some some upper level performances. You have Woody Harrelson in there, and Dennis Quaid. There's so many characters, though, that there's almost not it. It is a true ensemble, and there's not hardly any one specific character focused on. Mainly, we kind of have two mainish characters, and that's the naval intelligence officer played by Patrick Wilson, named Edwin Layton, and I believe he was the person who was responsible for. They call it the greatest military failure of intelligence, that we didn't know Pearl Harbor was coming, but apparently this guy sort of did, and he tried to warn them, and they sort of just blew him off. So now he's still there in charge, or not in charge, but he's reporting to giving intelligence to those in charge. And now he's saying, oh, Midway's the next big thing. So now they're starting to pay a bit closer attention, obviously, to this guy. Excuse me. So, and then on the other side, on the lower level, we have a pilot played by Ed Skrein. His name was Dick Best, and apparently that's a real life pilot. Most of these are, I guess, they're real life characters. I'm sure there are some fictional ones tossed in, but they did focus on some. And Ed Skrein did a good job. The problem with me with Ed Skrein is just he's not that guy that you root for. Like, he played in Hitman, or was it Hitman or Drive? I don't know. He played in Deadpool. He played the bad guy, and he's really easy to root for against the bad guy. Like that, I like him in a lot. This, where he's playing like an American war hero, he's just not very, he doesn't have that panache, doesn't have that thing that people gravitate towards, where you want to like root for him. So I think better bad guy, maybe not so great in this, but not. I mean, it's just I think what he's suited to, not necessarily his fault. So getting back to that narrative, what he could have done better, like I don't know, maybe just shrunk it up. Like instead of running through, I know sure he wanted to, but instead of running through Pearl Harbor, went to the Doolittle raid, went to all this stuff, maybe like take Midway as a microcosm, and then just sort of create a bubble around that, explain a little on the front end, explain a little on the back end, and then expand our central storyline on Midway. Yeah, but I mean, what can you do? This is what he did. So also, this kind of tries to toe the line, because most war films, you get either two things. You're going to get either this heavy, dramatic war, a la like Platoon, with a lot of, maybe some battle sequences, but a lot of heavy, contemplative war thoughts and whatnot. And then you're going to get pretty, action movies. Something more along the lines of, say, We Were Soldiers, or something along that lines, or even Saving Private Ryan did both, right? But it did both very well. So in this I think it tries to do both, and it just sort of ends somewhere in the middle. Like Roland Emmerich makes these big budget. We talked about Independence Day. He's most well known for that, but he makes stuff like 2012 and The Day After Tomorrow and White House Down, and just these movies that are just kind of middling meh. They're not. I mean, there may be some level of bad, but they're movies you can watch and be entertained, and that's what I felt by this. To me, it was this was kind of meh. I mean, it wasn't, and that's not saying it was bad. Like, I think this is actually, you can watch this, you can be entertained by it. I think it could have been a lot better had it been tighter. Maybe a few less characters, maybe a few less scenarios. But overall, it's kind of where he was aiming for, and it's kind of the mark that he hits. So at the end of the day, I give Midway a solid C+. You can watch it and be entertained, and but I don't think it's it's not winning any Oscars or anything like that. It's not gonna be one that you're gonna turn to a lot as far as memorable war movies. Well, that's my review of Midway. I hope you enjoyed it. I plan on getting more reviews out. Obviously, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know how. I'm not very good on camera, and I have zero production value, which is why I call it zero production value. All right. Thanks for watching. Until next time.